so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:04 on Edmonton Sports Talk. What's going on, everybody? As we head into another afternoon of EST content, we've got EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage coming up, followed by the Reed Wilkins Show with Reed Wilkins and the glue guy, Jay Milne. Man, Cash, you got to come by sometimes. Like, everything's going so Ice Cube is now a thing. Zach, with that being said, great rap, him and Klassen. I mean, it's one of my favorite songs.
I got chills listening to it. Like, that's how good you get goosebumps.
I want to break my arm so I can get a cast so Ice Cube can sign it. That's what I want. I think that would be great. So we had that going on, and then Trev's got the rap bug now. And right before he came on, instead of all gas, no brakes, he was like, what's it? Just cast, no gauge? All cast, no gauge. Which is, you're already working on a parody song, Trev. I'm very impressed. Nice. And then the cast, I don't know if you've been paying attention on online the last couple of days, but the big story around here is Tommy Gazzola short shorts on the hangout. Like, he sits down, super short shorts. So Gage just brought it up before we went on. He should get a pair of prosthetic testicles like they used in Step Brothers. Remember in Step Brothers? Step Brothers. On the drum set? Yeah. I drafted that in the prop draft. Anyway, he should get that and just have a little bit of a nut sticking out. And nobody on the hangout says a thing about it. And we just want to sit back and watch the chat. We just want to sit back
a little piece
and watch
the
chat. Just a little piece. Just a small little piece of scrotum. And that's it. And that would be the most brilliant chat of all time.
He can get up and get everyone a drink.
He might get banned from YouTube. But, yeah.
Well, he said to me before he left, he said here in the doorway, he looks at me and goes, there's this much chance that happens. 0% chance. I said, well, it'd be a funny bit to follow up. Kind of put the finishing touches on, because he's not going to be wearing shorts much in the winter. It would just be, it would be all that good stuff. So
I even like the those memes with the face, just the eyes and the mouth, and the seat as Tommy's about to sit down.
With those short shorts.
With those short shorts.
Yeah, those eyes and mouth that pop up everywhere. Cass, I'm gonna task you with this, Cass. Okay. All now, with that being said, we did hear that you wore small jean shorts to a football game this summer.
Yep.
So I don't. Yep. Now how small? Like, did they come to your knee? Were they above your knee?
They were above my knee. Well, yeah, I'm not going to wear shorts that go below my knee. We're not wearing capris, Dusty.
I do sometimes. But what were they like when you sit down, though? How high up your thigh did they go?
They're good. When you sit down, they're a good hand and a half.
Hand and a half up your thigh.
Like, if you stack your hands like together like this, so they're probably like a good 4 or 5 inches above my thigh when I sit down. So when you stand up, they're like 3 or 4 inches.
Tommy looks like he's wearing his boxers on the hangout, basically. So
yeah, I mean, he went to ultra short shorts. I mean, that's the thing I think for the kids these days. Me and my wife actually had a conversation about it. We're talking about school dress codes on that topic, and so we're talking about how we kind of feel, both of us, that there needs to be school dress codes for guys these days, because it's like the shorts are so short where you're just like, is this really necessary? Like, with how much like you're showing here,
skinny little school legs, like.
Yeah. And I mean, Tommy kind of, they're not quite skinny little school legs, but they're kind of skinny little school legs. And what I wanted to ask him, I should have texted him this. I didn't. I'm like, cause the guys, he gets a bunch of his suits, and we know Tommy's a sharp dresser. So I've started to get some apparel actually, as well as I've slowly updated my wardrobe from Modern Measure in downtown for suits and stuff. But I'm pretty sure Tommy got those shorts custom made. Like when they were like, Tommy, how short do you want the shorts? When Jared at Modern Measure was like, Tom, well, how short do you want the shorts? And he probably was like, short. And then Jared was probably like, well, how short? And Tom was like, short.
Yeah.
And Jared said, oh, maybe, I don't know, man. Like, because he'll give good style advice. Probably was just telling him to back off a little bit. But I'm pretty sure Tommy just had his way because ultimately, it's custom stuff ultimately. And he probably got those shorts made as short as possible.
I feel he went down there.
Shortest I can have the shorts.
So that's what I think.
Without having a stepbrother situation. And that's what he went with.
He probably sat down with him and said, listen, whatever you got left over for material, just make them in shorts, and I'll try to wear them.
Tommy looked like he was about to play the Wimbledon final in '86.
Yeah.
Oh, I never laughed so hard at a tennis joke, but that was really good. That's pretty good. Jimbo's in this says, poor Tom has been really run through the ringer here, even though he outdresses almost all of us. He really, Tommy's a well-dressed man.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I was going to task you with, Cass, as a guy who's going to be on pre and post game with him throughout an entire another Oilers season, which is just around the corner. If you could talk him out of wearing those shorts next summer, we would all appreciate it.
You know what? That's going to be one of my objectives. Maybe we'll start a new segment and we'll call it style advice, or we'll break down, the do's and do nots of Tommy's style. And the main focus will be just getting it through his mind that he doesn't have to wear those shorts so short.
This one's on the text line. This guy has sent in 2 text messages ever. One was yesterday at 1:53. Were you guys talking about something? He said Tom Gazzola in short shorts. Was this the dynamic duos or something? What were you doing yesterday?
Or duos. Yeah.
Okay.
Duos.
Yeah. So that guy's first text ever was in yesterday. He's back in today with his second text ever. And it just says, if Tommy's ball pops out of his shorts, we get 2 more weeks of summer.
Oh man! if it sees the light of day,
if Tommy's not sees its shadow.
Oh, that's good.
God, okay. We gotta move on. I could sit here for 49 more minutes making short jokes about Tommy. Oh, Tommy, I hope you're listening and realize that we are in fact laughing at you, not with you.
That one was
sorry
good.
about that, buddy.
That's good.
That was really good.
That's good.
Big Dave, great text. Great text. All right, too good. Sean Z texted and says, oh my God, Dusty, you're a complete genius. Auction off a spot for someone to come in and break your arm and donate the proceeds to charity, and then have Zach and Josh put together a charity concert. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be really good.
All right. Well, you've got to stay focused here. 2 Guys and a Goalies, presented to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca. Click on Ready to Work or visit the page at Indeed.ca with the Next Up Person program. At GS Construction, it's not just a job, it's a career. And I can pretty much guarantee nobody at GS Construction is wearing shorts like Tommy's. No chance.
Not a chance.
The shadow, like in 2 weeks, that's
such a good text. I mean, we don't do text. I think I've never done this, but I'm taking Big Dave's text and I'm putting it into the mix for text of the year at the Estes. Like, wow. It's just,
you got to.
This is just too good.
We could also form a new category of shortest shorts. The Estes for shortest shorts worn on the Hangout.
I'm just going to send this to Matt to put in the folder before I forget. That's Big Dave. Brilliant text, man. Brilliant text.
Brilliant.
All right, let's move along here. Cass, I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm worried, but are the Oilers going to miss the playoffs this year or what?
Yep. No, without question. Drake Caggiula didn't really have a good game, and he's essential. Yeah, I mean, there's no way, right? No way they make the playoffs. They're going to lose the first 30 games. They may win the next 50, but maybe not. So, yeah, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, guys. There's no way. There's no way.
They're done.
No way with their performance thus far in preseason that they win. With the lineups that they've iced, with the teams that they've played, they're going to lose every game this year. Going to be the worst team in the league. Absolutely.
At any point, for either of you guys, at any point, would you be concerned about anything coming out of a preseason when you're a team that went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year and is over with our partners at Coolbet, the Stanley Cup betting favorite right now? Gager?
No, but we were discussing in the bullpen earlier, and I believe that you brought it up, Dusty, was you brought up injuries. And what this preseason has done is kind of shown a light on the fact that if anyone of any significance goes down on the back end or goaltending, this team could be in a world of hurt because the cupboards are bare. And I don't know if you can backfill with what they have right now that is probably going to be in Bakersfield.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the puck, you're absolutely right. Forward standpoint, like they've dressed a lot of young guys. There's a lot of depth up front. Like you can deal with injuries up front in your forward group. You have guys that are going to be able to step in, guys that can move up. Like there's going to be options available there. But as you said, Gager, on defense in particular, the cupboards are bare, which leads me back to the why did you trade Cody Ceci so early standpoint. Again, people just wanted him gone, a lot of fans. And I was just like, well, why? Unless you have something in the works to bring in another top 6 guy, you're putting yourself in a difficult position because it's like, well, for like an Emberson or a Brown, it's like those guys can spot fill, but you have to find someone to play in your top 4 that's going to get regular tough minutes. And I get that, this game against Winnipeg, you didn't dress your top forward group. I get it. Like they weren't nearly, Winnipeg had a pretty solid group out there. I understand. Like you're probably going to lose that hockey game. You're probably going to get not necessarily lit up, but you're going to give up a lot more. But the reality is like, for like a Kulak and an Emberson in this scenario is like, well, are you going to ask those guys to play against the other team's top pairings? They're in the top 4 at times. Like, is that going to be something that has to happen, particularly if there's an injury on that right side? Well, they're going to have to. And it hasn't gone great so far in preseason. Now it's still super early preseason and not to freak out about it, but Gager, you're just absolutely right. That defensive depth is just a huge area of concern because last year, no injuries pretty much the whole season. And likelihood of that being the case again this year is incredibly low. And you just don't have a lot of depth or guys you're going to be able to bring in unless you manage to swing a trade here right away, which probably isn't going to happen for the first little bit in the season.
Yeah, like we said today, we were sitting over there with those chicken sandwiches you brought in. More on that in a second. Yeah. We'll have to talk about that. The executive chef of EST delivering for the boys today. If Bouchard, Ekholm, or Nurse get hurt, their blue line's in a lot of trouble. I mean, it just so fingers crossed that those guys. And we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the blue line. We're going to continue with this conversation here. If you have any questions about the blue line, kind of a defensive focus on 2 guys in goalie today. So 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Gager, to explain what you brought in today for the another reason, Cash, you should pop by. Gager's bringing in great, and you're a foodie yourself. You would probably very, very, very much enjoy what he brought in. Tell me about this, Gager.
Well, I had to go for milk, and then going through the aisles, which I usually do, they had a sale on full chickens.
So a full chicken, live or dead?
No, dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't do that. And I thought, I can take these home and roast them. And then I was like, well, let's do something special. So I put them on the beer butt kind of holder and just rubbed some butter and some chicken rub on there and smoked them. And used a hickory smoke. And then it took a long time. Like I had to get the internal temperature. It was tough because I had to rotate them a little bit.
You had to rotate the chickens a little bit around.
I have a older smoker, so the heat's not it doesn't distribute perfectly. But after that, shred them up, or I put them in the cooler late at night, covered them, let them cool, then shred them
in the morning.
Yeah,
this morning.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So these were just made yesterday.
Yeah. So we started yesterday, and then what I did was the skin comes off pretty easily at that point, right? So then I fry up the skin and it becomes like bacon. Then I chop all that up and put it back in. Put some celery in there. Greens for Dusty. I thought I would. It's part of my initiation to a larger palate.
Yeah. I didn't want to tell you, but I hid the celery pieces in my mouth, and then I went and spit them out
like sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
And a little mayo and just a nice fresh bun.
The bun was great.
Yeah, just the nice fresh baked buns at Save On there, and they turned out quite well. Just a hint of smoke.
How often do you smoke chicken, Cass?
Whenever possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's your favorite meat to smoke?
Oh, gosh. I mean...
easy for me.
Tenderloin.
Nope. Brisket, number 1. Probably pulled pork, number 2. Number 3 would be some beef ribs. Would be number 3. Love me some good beef ribs.
I'll do I like the pork belly.
You do, eh?
Oh yeah,
that's up there too.
Yeah, that one's remember when I think it was you, Cass, that had the you need a barbecue. We had that special.
Yeah, we did that thing.
And I went to go
do the Asian ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to go do the learn how to smoke kind of thing, and they made some smoked pork belly with that sticky barbecue sauce. I'd never tasted anything so good in my life. So, and I've tried to recreate it, but I probably need to go in there and get their recipe and try to recreate. But it is their little bits. I'll try to do this one day, Dusty. It'll blow your mind.
Really?
We actually we need to get those guys on board, because that would be like for the hangout and different things.
Gosh.
Like
different little treats and stuff come in, and that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And no, Gage, I still have that recipe in my brain because I remember that.
Okay, cool.
So it's, probably slightly different, but it's still pretty straightforward.
It is.
So I'll make them every once in a while. Like that'll be a cabin one.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, those are up there too. And it's all good, right? It's all good. I know I put brisket at the top because that's my favorite, but really,
I'm just trying to be a little bit different too. You're along the same lines as I am, Cass. But that the time I did make it, and I think it was last summer. Not this one last summer, but Corey the Butcher, I asked him for a big thing of meat, pork, pork belly, and he came out with this massive slab. And he goes, "Will this do?" I go, "Yes."
That guy's got pork belly all over the place.
Oh yeah, that'll do fine. So Corey, I'll be probably coming in for some pork belly soon.
All right, let's get to. There's some good comments on defense. And we could talk about smoke. You guys should do a cooking show. We got the kitchen over there.
We should.
It'd be great. It's just you with a toaster oven, Gager. Gager's toaster oven, 15 minutes.
2 guys in a toaster oven.
All right, let's get to some of the thoughts on the blue line. Okay, you know what? Let's get to this one. D White over in the nasty chat. You can text us, of course, as well if you're listening on TuneIn. I heard, however, if you want to get in touch with us, 780-218-9999. D White says, guys, the team will need to outscore their mistakes until they trade for that second pairing right D-man. Bet the over in these games. Cass, I'm going to throw it to you first. How much of the Oilers being a solid defensive team comes from their personnel on the back end? How much of it comes from the way a team actually plays defense?
50-50.
Okay.
Maybe 50-50. Yeah. I would say 50-50. So you're going to have, because you can have not the best defensive players, but if your forward group and everyone buys in, it can go a long way to really helping stylistically how your team plays. Now, the thing is we know Edmonton stylistically is an offensive team that likes to punch and counterpunch. They're not guys, or they're not a team that necessarily plays defense first, because they're so skilled offensively. It's like, well, no, they like having the puck, playing quick in transition. They're not a team that's like, oh, they're not an LA Kings 1-3-1, right? Where, they're just going to sit back and try to play that team difference. In that style and system and what you're asking the forwards to do and the risk you are willing to accept in the offensive zone and in the defensive zone. Because the reality is McDavid and Draisaitl take some risk in the defensive zone where they cheat to the offensive side of the puck. And they should, because they're so good offensively that they're going to generate more by doing that, ultimately offense, than they give up on defense. But then the challenge with the Oilers is that other 50%, which is just the personnel. And it's like, well, then, if you're going to play a game that's a little more high tempo offensive game where you aren't afraid to run and gun. Now, we do know they have the ability to shut teams down, to play stable, steady defensively, but you're kind of missing part of that 50%, which is from a personnel standpoint, you're not right now at the point, where you have just a fully solidified defensive group. You have one pairing that's stable and solid and is going to be great in Bouchard and Ekholm, but then you still don't really have the guy, or you're just kind of hoping someone becomes the guy to play with Darnell Nurse when he's back and playing full out in the regular season. So yeah, I kind of peg it at 50-50. Gager probably is like, well, it's all 100% on the goaltender anyways, because that's how he thinks. But yeah, that's probably the range I'd look at.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Gage, what do you think about this? You're a goalie. You stood behind defenses that had some good defensemen. You probably stood behind some defenses that didn't have good defensemen. Did you have a team that you're like, man, we're pretty good defensively, even though like those four guys aren't that good?
Yeah, but usually those teams had very responsible forwards that played on the defensive side of the puck, where I don't want to say that the Oilers cheat on the offensive side, but there are times when I think they're more aligned to anticipate jumping onto the offensive side. Depending how these defensive pairings work, I think there has to be a little bit more commitment to stay on the defensive side of the puck for most of the forwards. And look, now that Stuart Skinner he's a veteran goalie. I look at him that. The amount of games, I think he's got like 35 games in the playoffs over the last few years. He has to step up and be more in line with a guy like, I want to say like Connor Hellebuck and even Thatcher Demko, that are huge difference makers on a regular nightly basis, that can kind of hold the dam together for some defensive deficiencies if they arise, right? So I put it on the forwards being a little bit more defensive conscious, and Stuart Skinner being that type of guy that at the end of the year you're talking Vezina.
We've been doing two guys and a goalie since right before the pandemic. So whatever, 5 years now. Let's say. I don't think I've ever asked you this question, Gager. As a goalie, we always hear goalies looking at tape on the opposing shooters and where they shoot from and this and that. How much do goalies have to work on tendencies of their own defensemen? So if Skinner's in net and he knows Nurse is the low man back, and in his mind, whether you will like it or not, he's thinking, okay, well, Nursey's going to go down on his belly, and they could still, like yeah. how like does that is that a thing?
Oh, definitely. I think we were talking about a little bit before. Is there anything with defensive pairings? How do they learn to play with one another? It's the same with goaltending and communication and how guys play. Like you know that either a guy is maybe overzealous, jumping all the time, and how are you going to communicate with him if he's in poor position to setting the puck up behind the net?
Like Skinner setting it up for CC's is a little bit different than setting up for Emerson at the beginning.
Because he's coming on different sides. You got to know which hand they go. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. How you want them to play in certain situations. You look to the PK, and I think it was the first goal, or like there was, I forget. I think it was Wanner or Vanner, whatever. He
on the give and go in front there.
He was caught in no man's land, and kind of I think he screened Skinner a little bit, right? Where you would probably a guy that's you've played with before go, look, just take the short side. So I can at least see it. Give me a chance to stop it. You look at the communication with a lot of times with, I want to say CC, you'd see him take a step to the side if it looked like a guy was going to shoot and allow Skinner. That was just the being able to play with one another for a longer period of time and knowing what you want your goaltender to do, what you want the defenseman to do too. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time with new personnel.
Cass, we were talking before we went on, Gage and I were kind of just spitballing some stuff we hit on today. How much different is it for a defenseman to develop chemistry with their one defensive partner than, a line, a forward group developing some chemistry together? Do you think it's more difficult? Do you think it's easier? We're just trying to think because, at some point here, there's a chance you roll into the regular season with Emberson and Nurse haven't played one game together. How long does that take? And how much is there to defensive chemistry between partners?
I think there's more to it because offensively, you communicate in the offensive zone, like you talk in the offensive zone, but there also is just a read and react in offensive creativity because you're looking where the openings are, where the puck is, and you're trying to find openings and create offense. And defensively, because I think it becomes or should be a little bit more structured, I think there is more like reading and understanding, especially when there's high pressure. Like, what is this guy's tendency when he's under pressure? Where does he like to go? Where are his automatic outs? What type of things does he normally do? For Darnell Nurse is, when is he going to go on his belly and slide, or one knee and slide, or on his butt and slide, and however else he's trying to defend. Getting used to that, getting used to in this situation, he typically likes to try to push outside the dots. Or in this situation, he'll allow zone entry and back in a little bit, where it's just like some of that communication and those reads become so much more important in the defensive zone rather than the offensive zone. Because it probably takes the same amount of time, I guess, if I'm as I'm just kind of chewing on this as I'm talking out loud. But the difference is, if you make those mistakes in the offensive zone, you don't notice it as much. Right, because the puck isn't instantly in the back of your net. It's it was a play that didn't work out, or they didn't score a goal, or they it was a shift where they didn't generate a scoring chance. Where in the defensive zone, you make those same mistakes and it's a scoring chance against, or the puck's in the back of your net. Like so the importance of finding that chemistry, I think, is just that much bigger. What's a reasonable amount of time? I mean, you should see some kind of ability to play together right away. I would think a little bit to a certain extent, but you're probably looking 5 to 10 games. I think that's a reasonable.
That's what I was going to say. Like for Nurse and Emberson, that was going to be my next question, Chick-ass. For Nurse and Emberson, if they are the second pair, how many games are you going to give it as an analyst before you go, this might not work, or at that point it is going to work? 10. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
5 to 10. Yep. If at 10 games it's still an absolute gong show, then you're like, no chance this is working. If they're still making a couple mistakes, fine, whatever. At that 5-game point, if they've had 5 games and been 5 bad games, then you're concerned. Now, if they've had a mix of good and bad, then you're giving it a little bit more time, probably up to that 10-game mark. At least in my brain, that's kind of how I would process it out.
Gager, 5 to 10 games for you too, or what?
Yeah, I would even actually maybe go a little bit less.
You would, eh?
Well, it's a results driven business, right? I mean, if it's a complete catastrophe, right? I think you have to give it a few games, but I think the most before you might tinker is maybe 3, depending on how the games go, right? But this is if it's complete, like Oppenheimer bomb.
You know what? I started watching Oppenheimer, but I couldn't finish it. It was just kind of slow for me.
You have to be interested, I think, in the story of his story. Like I was in the theater, so it was.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I was trying to watch it on my iPad on a plane. And it seems like a theater movie. Like if you're at the theater, I wouldn't be distracted by my phone. I probably could buy in a little bit more.
What you need to do, I don't know where my wife found these things, but we found those new Apple headphones.
Okay.
And for cheap, like really cheap, and they're authentic. I don't know. I think they fell off the back of a truck somewhere.
Did she steal them from somebody?
No, they came from China. You put those on and listen to a movie, and it's got that spatial awareness.
So they go right over your ear.
Yeah, okay. Right over.
Oh, wow.
Right over.
Ooh, wow.
And on the small screen, it still does a lot. So I would suggest.
Oh, good to know.
Tammy, if you're listening.
Does your wife have a line on any more of these sketchy Apple's headphones?
I'll look.
Okay. Yeah.
But it makes a huge
I watch
difference.
A lot on my iPad.
I know. Yeah. You need a better sound system.
Yeah. I guess I do.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I didn't even think about that. All right. Let's get into the nasty chat a little bit. If you're watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. That'd be great. If you have not yet subbed to the Edmonton Sports Talk channel, we'd love and appreciate you to sub as well and hop on board with us. Okay. So Machine Gun Yanmark says the offer sheets were just a major blow and gaff because they basically lost 3 D-men out of that whole situation. Could be bumpy out of the gates. The forward group also has very little physicality, so we've got that one in there. Gordon McDowell says CC was a top penalty killer on this team. Who's going to be taking those top minutes on the PK? Northside Sandwich replies to him and says Bouchard will be getting some PK time for sure this year. Curtum03 says Troy Stetcher and Brown are not going to cut it to improve the defense. Emberson is a hit and miss. Nurse is trash. He plays like a $5 million or $4 million defenseman. Okay, so we're back to almost regular season. seeing, it's just here we go again. RCN over the text line says, guys, there's going to be zero chemistry or games played together when they add a second right-handed D via trade midseason either.
Yep, and 5 to 10 in that. If and when that
even
happens.
then, right? And usually you only have 5 or 10 after the trade deadline to sort of hit your stride before the season starts. So
I can't remember who did Ekholm play with first when he got here.
It wasn't Bouchard.
It wasn't Bouchard.
Was it Bouchard right away? YouTube, Trev, you remember this? You do.
I think it was,
stuff on your channel.
No, wasn't it Ekholm and CC and Nurse and Bouchard?
Yeah, I
first?
think
Might have been CC
that's
where
what
it
it
started.
was. Yeah, and then they realized how good Ekholm was, and then the other pair wasn't doing well, and so they split it up.
Well, this is kind of where I wanted to go next on this whole blue line thing. Cass, where are you at on let's just say Nurse and Emberson is like, not sure they're right together. Where are you at on Nurse and Bouchard as a pairing, which would then free up Ekholm to kind of take Emberson under his wing for a little bit?
I think it's kind of a been there, done that with Nurse and Bouchard. I think there's too much risk in that to me defensively. Now, if Bouchard can pull some of the risk offensively out of his game and just focus on the defensive side, that's okay. Maybe you're okay and you can get by with it. But then you're eliminating some of the areas where Bouchard can shine offensively. So yeah, where am I at on that? Trade for Ristolainen and don't do it at all. I don't know. Like I just, to me, I kind of look at that and I go, I mean, how much will that help Emberson? It might, and Emberson may improve. It may steady his game out. And so maybe you do take a look at it, but I just would be nervous if that's what you have to look at doing. I'd be a little bit nervous.
Just throw McDavid back on D, and he'll still have
flip him with Nurse. Flip City Staff's been asking for Nurse to be on the wing for 5 years.
He'll probably win the Norris, and
he should go back and win the Norris. That'd be great. Who does he think he is? Sergei Fedorov?
That's what I was thinking.
Man, but it's not weird that you said it, Gage. You're like, this time next year, Bouchard and Nurse could be $20 million in defensemen. And you're not comfortable enough to play them together? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, they should be able to play with each other. Like, that should be a dominant defensive pairing. But the fact that we're questioning that, and that's going to take up that much of your salary cap, that's, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in that because we've seen it before. It doesn't work. Just doesn't work with those two.
Brian says Nurse, when playing well, is an excellent defender.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not wrong. I mean, I think you're talking to 3 guys here who are fully on board with what you're saying, right, Cass? When Nurse is on his game, he's really good. He is.
He's really good. Yep, he's really good. The problem is you just have those moments, and last season, particularly in the playoffs, he just wasn't able to do that and string it together. I mean, he is going to be an absolute linchpin for this team. Like, he is essential for this team to have success, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. And when he plays really well, he's extremely effective and he's really good. We just haven't seen him, or last season, we weren't able to see him do it consistently. Now, if he can do it consistently, yeah, he can be lights out and he makes you a better team and he can be fantastic. And, if that's a scenario, yeah, you could play Bouchard with him and they're going to be fine. But I think we kind of go to the lowest common denominator in that it's like, okay, we are not, when we're looking at these pairings, we're not looking at, okay, who's going to be best with Nurse when Nurse is at his best. We're looking at, okay, if Nurse is struggling, who are we going to be able to put with him that's going to be able to get this pairing through for those times when he does struggle. And you know, having Bouchard and Nurse play together, I mean, that is a lot of money, or what will be a lot of money, tied up in two guys on a pairing that should be able to play together. But it just hinges on, you know, what version of Darnell Nurse are we getting? Because again, you said it, Dusty. I can't remember who sent that text in or message, but they're absolutely right. Yeah, Nurse, when he's good, is really good. It's just last year we didn't see that happen often enough.
Yeah, well, that's what somebody else just texted in as you were just saying that, Cass. Somebody said, hey, when was the last time Nurse played really well, though? COVID season versus the Canadian division? I think we've seen it for stretches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see it for stretches everywhere. Yeah. You're like, well, just do this.
When the Oilers went nuts for that 16-game stretch, Nurse was good there, yeah. Nurse was dynamite. But, yeah, because I'm trying to think of two D-men that you would think of that should be just so dynamic together. Probably in Pittsburgh, I would think, because Carlson doesn't play a lot with Letang, right?
No, they're both right shot guys, so it's just that'd be tough.
It's tough, I guess. But
what about Trouba and Fox? Do they play together much? Are they both right shot guys too? They're both right shot guys too. Yeah. Herb's Hose texting says, guys, I can see a scenario where Kulak ends up playing on the right side with Nurse. And then they have Dermott and Emberson on the third pair. At this point in his career, Nurse needs to step up. I'm not going to rag on the guy, but it's on him. We shouldn't be bringing in $5 million defensemen to make him better. It should just be the opposite. So, and yeah, Pinto Creek texting too and says, guys, couldn't you just move Kulak up on the right side? Yeah, you could move Kulak up on the right side and just run your top four heavy.
Yeah.
And find some softer spots in the opposition for. The problem is if it's not Dermott, then you're playing one of Stetcher, Brown, or Emberson on their offside.
Right.
So it's not ideal in that situation. We're going to get to hired or fired here in just a second. But, Trevor, I don't know if you could grab this and throw it up on the screen, but Corey B., who has our logo tattooed on his leg, has sent in another tattoo that he just got. It's on his left arm. And it's a big number 43, which is his Nasty Club membership number. and above that is the word nasty in Morse code.
Are you serious?
This is the tattoo he just got. Trev, did you see that in the text line? Yeah. Grab it from Corey. Let's throw it up on the screen and show everybody here because, I mean, Corey's incredible because, like, I helped create this. And I wouldn't get anything from your tattooed on my body. Like, if I ever have a tattoo on my body, it will have something to do with my wife and or kids.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the only thing. I had two really good buddies in high school. They were like 17 and they're like, we're getting matching Canadian maple leaf logos right between our shoulder blades, like right here. And now they're like 43. The one's like almost faded away. I'm just like, dude, what do you think? I don't know. Cass, you don't have any ink, do you?
Oh yeah, Cass does.
How many tattoos do you have?
Full back.
Cumulatively, let's call it one.
Oh, do you have a full back tattoo?
No.
Oh,
it's pretty big though.
No, it is pretty big.
Is it on your leg?
Shoulder
Tattoo. I guess I've never seen.
I got a lion like Austin Matthews. I just wanted to be like him. So,
oh, hero. I like that. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, this is Corey B's latest tattoo, and it's got his Nasty Club membership number 43, and then the word nasty in Morse code right above it. And what's crazy here is that that's not a small tattoo.
No,
like that's taking up a good chunk of his left arm. Looks nice though.
Nicely done, Corey.
Looks real nice.
There you go. Nice little zoom in.
Corey B. at the Estes, officially inducted onto the beauty list, Lifetime Achievement Award. And so he didn't have to take it any further. You're already on the beauty list, man. Anyway, nice 43 tattoo. That looks well done, Corey. That's terrific. He says, I already have both my daughter's names tattooed on me and both of their favorite animals. And that's a bold move too, because this just in. Kids change favorite animals like every 12 months. Wow. Well done, sir.
I like the Morse code thing on there.
That's kind of
neat. Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what completes the sleeve.
Who uses Morse code still, do you think? Must be something in the army or on a boat or something.
It always comes down to that show that it looks like all hope is lost, and then all of a sudden they start tapping.
We could do it with Morse code. I think my favorite ones are Morse code, but either with smoke or a mirror and a light.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's Morse code.
Every time I see it on a show, I go, I got to learn that, because one day I might be held down by sniper fire.
Might be on a boat and it's really dark and the radios aren't working and you need to signal someone with a light.
Yeah, like I'm ever going to be on a submarine.
Yeah.
This text is in and says, guys, the way marriages goes these days, I don't think I'd even get a wife tattoo. Kids only. That's being cynical, though. Haha. All right, let's get into a hire it or fire it. Of course, you can continue to text us, 780-218-9999. I know some of you probably still want to slide in on the conversation on the back end, and we'll get to a few more of those as well. But yeah, let's dive into hire it or fire it. A couple looks around the rest of the National Hockey League. Also presented to you, of course, by GS Construction. They are hiring now. Become a part of their great team today. Visit gsconstruction.ca or go to their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team today at GS Construction. Jeremy Swayman is worth more than $9 million. And he wants 10. I'm just saying he's worth more than 9. Gager, hire it or fire it?
I'm going to fire it because that whole group in Boston, I said this yesterday, that they've been taking discounts to stay competitive. And I think by him taking that much is going to ruin all their chances to be a successful team.
Cass, what do you think? Swayman?
Fire it. No goalie's worth that much. You're already hitting. You need your 2 goalies. I've said this over and over again. Your 2 goalies can't make up more than 10% of your cap if you want to be a long-term successful team.
I was going to say 8, really.
Well, it's in that range. I mean, it's gone up a little bit.
You said 10% of cap.
Yeah, 10% of cap, which is, I mean, I think historically we talked about around 8 because that's kind of roughly in that 10% number. But no, he's not worth that much.
Swayman numbers check. 3 years ago, 41 games, 914 save percentage. 2 years ago, 37 games, 920 save percentage. Last year, 44 games, 916 save percentage. He got 919 save percentage. He's 79, 33, and 15 with a 2.34 goals against average. Gager, how much of a difference is there in playing 44 games and 60 games?
It's not only that, it's the platoon system that he's been in for the past few years where he's only had to focus on this game and knowing doesn't matter what he does, the other guy's going to play. He's going to have to become the man this year and counted on. Not that he hasn't done it before in his whole life, but I just think there's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve of him being a regular every night NHL starting goaltender. He doesn't have his partner to lean on in certain situations. So yeah, it's kind of unknown how he's going to handle a workload of more than, I would probably say, closer to 50, 55 games.
Max Pacioretty will score 25 goals in Toronto this year. Hire it or fire it?
For the Marlies?
No, fire it. Fire it. He gets 15 to 20.
If he stays healthy.
20. Yeah, if he's healthy.
Fire it. Yeah. I don't think so.
An injury to Ekholm would hurt more than an injury to Skinner. Hire it or fire it?
I'm going to hire it because...
Really?
Yeah, because even if Skinner's gone, then Pickard at least still has Ekholm.
Still has Ekholm in front of him.
And you can't replace that.
Cass, what do you think? This comes from the conversation we were having earlier today where we were talking about, if one of their defensemen goes down. If Skinner gets hurt, the Oilers are not very deep between the pipes. I mean, you're going to need Pickard to basically carry you at that point. So, Cass, what do you think?
Again, is hiring it Skinner's a bigger deal than Ekholm?
Yeah.
If he goes down,
you're firing it if you think Skinner's the bigger deal.
Right. And Gager, you hired it, right?
I fired it. Yeah, I said Ekholm's a bigger deal.
So you hired it.
I hired it.
You hired it. Yeah, I'm going to fire it. I think Skinner's a Skinner's a bigger deal. If we're talking,
how long is
longer.
this injury though? How long are we talking?
Well,
Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, I don't even want to speculate on injuries, let alone.
No.
What about a month?
Yeah.
You're going to miss each of them for a month.
So that's what, 8?
What hurts
10?
more?
8 to 10 games?
Yeah.
Skinner. So I got to hire it.
Yeah, that's. No, I'm going to stay with it. 8 to 10, I can do.
All right.
Anything more than that,
Then you're in trouble.
then you're in trouble.
All right. Okay, this one. And we haven't, all we know about the Drew. Did you see this Drew Doughty injury last night, Cass?
No, I didn't see it. I'll pull it up quick.
Yeah, pull it up quickly. I can kind of describe it for everybody who's listening. If you didn't see it, Drew Doughty, preseason action last night, was kind of going over, chasing back, just inside the blue line, went over to kind of play the body and play the puck, went down. His right leg went one leg, his left leg went the other leg, and it looked like his ankle got really banged, like bent up. It's come out, he's got a fractured ankle. I don't know how long a fractured ankle would take somebody to recover, but let's just set it at this. And you hope for his sake, he gets back in a month or two or whatever. I don't know. It just looked bad. I think it might be a little while. If Drew Doughty misses 25% of the Kings regular season, they miss the playoffs. Hire it or fire it.
Hire it. He's up, like he always he's close to the league leaders in ice time.
Still
To this day. He's so good. And we've been talking about the importance of defensemen, right shot defensemen at that. If the Kings lose him, you're saying till that's American.
What's 25? That's 20%. Yeah, that's about American Thanksgiving.
And yeah, they're done. I think they're. I think it was going to be difficult for them to make the playoffs.
You do, hey?
Well, it's going. Did they get any better last year? Like
No, but but you're still
They're
in the
good.
division with Calgary, Anaheim, and San Jose.
Yeah.
But that's with Drew Doughty too. I just think if he's not back by before American Thanksgiving, I don't think they make the playoffs.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. Even
if he misses 25%. Did you see the injury? Did you track it down?
Yeah, I just watched it. You may have seen, if you're watching on YouTube, see my face do this.
Yeah.
No. It's not like it doesn't look. It's bad, but it's not like
grotesque,
flopping
but
over.
It definitely went some way that it wasn't supposed to go.
No, you see it. It's enough seeing a guy going to the boards that way where it's going to make me grimace because I can imagine that happening. Like it's. No, I think they still make it. Just with the weakness of San Jose, of Anaheim. Calgary would be the ones I think they would step in if LA doesn't. But I still think they do.
Well, that's the problem for Calgary. Like Calgary's stuck in no man's land because you'd love to get down and draft like in the top 3, but you got 2 teams in your division that are probably going to be worse than you no matter what you really do, unless you really sell off at some point during the season or at the deadline.
Oh, if they get rid of Mackenzie Weegar, and they'll be terrible.
Yeah, that would be an easy way to fix it.
You want to fix it?
Yeah, you know what they should do? They should trade Mackenzie Weegar to the Sharks. That's the ultimate tank job right there.
But if you're Calgary, do you want to tank? Because I think there's enough there in some of the young players, and we talked about this on Tuesday. Like there's enough there where we talked about them not being as bad as everyone thought they're going to be. I still think there's enough there where it's like, I do think Calgary is well poised to be able to retool on the fly, not necessarily become a Stanley Cup contender, but to retool on the fly and become a playoff team without having to break down completely in a full blown, catastrophic rebuild, like by trading Mackenzie Weegar. I don't think you. Yeah,
I think I disagree because I'm thinking, what's better for your organization when you open a new arena? Having a team that's middling in and out of the playoffs, or a guy like Gavin McKenna out of Medicine Hat?
I mean, having McKenna would be pretty
right. That would be pretty sweet. That would be pretty good. I mean, that's how you build. That's what you build.
They're not going to be
right?
bad enough to do that.
Well, that's why I said they're stuck in next year
this summer already.
Yeah, well, they should have. Like in my opinion, they should have. But yeah, I don't think we asked a couple days ago. Like, I don't think they're going to be as bad as maybe even Flames fans want them to be. Like, it's an interesting group they've got down there. It's not like they're not mainly. They brought in Anthony Mantha this year. Like, that's not a team that's I feel like
he's on a 1-year deal. I mean,
and they can move him in the deadline. I get it, but I still feel like we're going to be sitting here next June and it's going to be like, all right, Calgary's on the clock, 11th overall. Congratulations, you haven't achieved anything. Like, I don't know. It's just the Oilers didn't mean to tank for 10 years.
No,
but it did, and it worked out.
Yeah,
had a little luck in the lottery, and things work out okay.
Maybe Calgary get lucky.
Maybe that's what happens. Their goaltending situation might sewer him anyway.
I like Vladar.
You do, eh?
Yeah, I thought he was always a really good goaltender. Wolf, we'll see.
All right. Before we wrap, two guys today, we do have to, once again, our presenting sponsor, GS Construction. Thank you very much. We've been doing two guys. Now, I guess two guys has only been part of like Edmonton Sports Talk for a year. But it took a year, but we've never put a text from two guys and a goalie into the text of the year for a possible Esty ever before. So it's a first. It happened today. Surveyor Brett, if you're listening to two guys, put it in your phone. We're taking a text from two guys and a goalie and throwing it in the mix for text of the year because it was a classic. Big Dave, earlier today, if Tommy's nut pops out of his shorts, we get 2 more weeks of summer. That's just a perfect way to sort of wrap Tommy's short season,
What's the name of the episode? Is it Tommy's Daisy Dukes? I don't know.
I don't know.
We got to find something.
Got to be some sort of fun name today. I was thinking Blue Line Issues, but Tommy's Sneaky
HWG.
Nut.
It's perfect because it means it's still warm out, right?
Yeah, that's true. It was 28 degrees. Anyway, Big Dave, great text, buddy. You could win text of the year with that. That was real nice. Gage, what's coming up in EST afternoons?
I think we got Chris Hemsworth talking about his new Transformers movie. And
nice. That's good.
No, we actually got a special guest, the guy I grew up playing hockey with. He interesting story how I hadn't talked to him in decades. We played probably U11.
So like Adams?
Yeah. And he drafted by Philly back in 1990, played with the Seattle Thunderbirds, but now he does the color radio for the Kraken.
Okay, nice.
And the most bizarre thing is how this all came, but I'll save it for the show.
Yeah. Don't tease. In fact, Hernan told me before we went on today, he goes, Gage doesn't want to talk about the Oilers at all on your show.
He yells at me every time.
Yeah, he's like, don't talk about the Oilers on two guys.
Great.
The good news is that he'll have a whole new round of questions and a lot of things to discuss on EST Afternoons. The Reed Wilkins Show from 3 to 6 right here. Great afternoon content now available on Edmonton Sports Talk. No reason to go anywhere else. Just keep listening on TuneIn, iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Huge thank you to the Sandman and everybody over at GS Construction for presenting two guys and a goalie. We'll be back with the next two guys, and we will get into our top 30 players in the league next week that's the final week before the regular season begins. We'll get into that next week on Two Guys and Goalie. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the Nielson Show for Cass and Gager. I'm Dustin Nielson. EST Afternoons coming up. Take it easy.